Okay. Okay. So check this out. Last month I paid off my car, paid IT off. I sent that final payment. I did a little dance in my kitchen. I called my mom. I told her, Mom, I'm financially responsible now. You know what happened? My credit score went down, by 30 points. I'm sitting there staring at my phone like it just told me my dog died. I refresh the app, still down. I close the app. I open it again, still down. I throw my phone across the room, pick it up, check it one more time. And somehow it went down another point just for checking. So I call the credit bureau. I'm on hold for 45 minutes listening to elevator music that sounds like it was composed by someone who hates happiness. Finally, some guy named Derek picks up. I say, Derek, explain to me like I'm 5 years old why paying off a debt made my score go down. You know what Derek said? Well, sir, you closed an active account, which reduced your credit mix and shortened your average account age. I said, Derek, I paid my debt. I am less risky now. I have more money. How does that make me a worse borrower? Derek goes, that's just how the algorithm works, sir. The algorithm, like it's some ancient god we all have to worship. The algorithm has spoken, and the algorithm says you're trash, Bill. Here's what really gets me, y'all. I checked my score again this morning. You know why? Because I'm a masochist. And it went down another 5 points. You know what I did to deserve that? Nothing. I literally breathed wrong. I sneezed at the wrong time, and Experience said, how dare you, minus 5 points. At this point, I'm convinced if I walk past a bank too confidently, my score drops. If I make eye contact with a credit card offer in my mailbox, boom, down 10 points. And it's not just me. My buddy Steve, he opened a new credit card last week because his old one was charging him ridiculous fees. The new card had better rewards, lower interest, the whole deal, smart move, right? Wrong. His score dropped 25 points. Why? Too many inquiries. He applied for one card. One, but apparently that's too many in the eyes of the algorithm. Then there's my cousin Jennifer. Jennifer's a saint. She pays every bill on time, never misses a payment, keeps her balances low. Model citizen. You know what she did? She paid off her student loans, all of them, $60,000 gone. Sent the final check, popped champagne, called everybody she knows. 2 weeks later, her credit score dropped 40 points. 40! For eliminating $60,000 of debt, I called her and she's crying. Not happy crying, angry crying. She goes, Bill, I did everything right. I worked overtime for 3 years. I ate ramen for dinner so I could make extra payments, and they punished me. I didn't know what to tell her except, welcome to the system, Jen. Population, everyone getting screwed. This isn't a credit score, people. This is an obedience score. This is financial house arrest with an ankle monitor that shocks you every time you try to escape. This is a game where the rules change every time you think you figured them out, and the only people who win are the ones keeping score. The reality check. Let me tell you something about credit scores that nobody wants to admit. They are not about measuring how responsible you are with money. They're about measuring how profitable you are to the banking industry. That's it. That's the whole game. Think about it like this. You got a friend named Chad. Chad makes $200,000 a year, has $500,000 in his savings account, drives a paid-off Honda, lives in a house he bought with cash. Chad has zero debt. You know what Chad's credit score is? Like a 580. You know why? Because Chad doesn't play the game. Chad doesn't borrow money. Chad isn't profitable. Then you got another friend, Kevin. Kevin makes $40,000 a year. He's got $60,000 in credit card debt. A car loan at 18% interest. A personal loan he took out to pay his buddy back for a jet ski they bought together in 2019. Kevin is drowning. Kevin wakes up every morning and the first thing he hears is the sound of interest compounding. You know what Kevin's credit score is? 780. Excellent credit. Why? Because Kevin is a dream customer. Kevin is paying interest on his interest. Kevin is the guy the banks send Christmas cards to. Kevin is funding their executive bonuses. Kevin is the ideal American consumer. So when I paid off my car, you know what I did wrong? I stopped being profitable. I cut off a revenue stream. I was paying them interest every month, and I had the audacity to stop. So they punished me. They said, oh, you think you're responsible? Let us remind you who's in charge here. The credit score system is like a nightclub where the bouncer only lets in people who are already drunk. If you show up sober and responsible, they look at you like, nah, you're not fun enough, get out of here. But if you show up stumbling, slurring your words, about to make terrible decisions, they roll out the red carpet. Welcome, here's another drink. Would you like to open a tab? It's not and their financial health requires you to stay in debt forever. Just enough debt to keep you paying interest, but not so much debt that you default and stop paying. You're not a person to them, you're a subscription service. You're Netflix, except instead of watching movies, you're just bleeding money every month. And here's the kicker. They got us competing with each other over these scores. You ever been at a party and somebody casually drops their credit score into conversation like it's their IQ? Oh yeah, my score is 810. And everybody else at the party goes quiet and looks down at their drinks because they know their score is 680 and now they feel like failures. We're out here bragging about how good we are at being in debt. That's what we're doing. Oh, you got a 750. That's cute. I got an 820 because I have 7 credit cards and a car loan and a personal loan, and I'm paying minimum payments on all of them. Congratulations, you're the valedictorian at Debt University. The banks got us so twisted that we think owing money is a skill, like it's something to be proud of. I'm really good at staying in debt just enough to keep my score high, but not so much that I default. That's not financial literacy. That's Stockholm Syndrome. The diagnosis. Now let's talk about how we got here, because this didn't happen by accident. Back in 1989, the Fair Isaac Corporation, FICO, they created this score. And at first, it kind of made sense. Banks needed a way to figure out who to lend money to. Fair enough. But then something happened. The score stopped being a tool and became a weapon. Here's how they get you. There are 5 factors in your credit score. Payment history, that's 35%. Makes sense. If you don't pay your bills, your score should go down. I got no problem with that. Then there's amounts owed. That's 30%. Okay, fine. Length of credit history, 15%. Types of credit, 10%. New credit, 10%. But here's where it gets insane. They want you to have a healthy mix of credit. What does that mean? It means they want you to have a mortgage, a car loan, a couple credit cards, maybe a personal loan, a student loan if you got one. They want you diversified in your debt. Like you're building an investment portfolio, except instead of stocks, it's different ways to owe money. I don't have a mortgage because I rent, minus points. I paid off my car, minus points. I only have 2 credit cards instead of 7, minus points. I'm being financially responsible and the system is slapping me in the face for it. And the length of credit history thing, that's a scam too. They want you to keep accounts open forever. I got a credit card from 2003 that I don't even use. It's just sitting in a drawer collecting dust. But if I close it, my average account age goes down and my score tanks. So I got to keep this zombie account alive just to appease the algorithm. You know what this reminds me of? You ever play one of those mobile games where you can't actually win, you can only keep playing? Where the goal isn't to finish the game, it's to keep you engaged forever, so you keep spending money on power-ups. That's the credit score. You can't win at credit scores. You can only keep playing, keep borrowing, keep paying interest, keep feeding the machine. And here's the really messed up part. Nobody knows the exact formula. FICO keeps it secret. It's proprietary. So you're being judged by a system that won't tell you the rules. Imagine playing basketball, but the referee won't tell you how many points a basket is worth. And also sometimes a basket loses you points, and when you ask why, the referee just shrugs and says, the algorithm decided. They tell you to build credit, like it's this responsible thing you should do. But what they really mean is go into debt. Because you can't build credit without borrowing money. You can't prove you're good at paying back money unless you owe money. It's like saying, prove you're good at not drowning by jumping in the ocean with cement shoes. And the worst part? This score controls your life. Want to rent an apartment? They check your credit score. Want to get a job? Some employers check your credit score. Want to get insurance? They use your credit score to set your rates. Want to get a cell phone plan? Credit score. Want to get utilities turned on? Credit score. Want to lease a car? Credit score. Want to get approved for that fancy rewards credit card? Credit score. Want to exist as a human being in modern America? Credit score. So you got this 3-digit number that was invented by a private company using a secret formula that punishes you for being financially responsible, and it determines where you can live, what you can drive, whether you can get a job, and whether you can afford to get sick. And we just accept this. We all just nod and go, yep, makes sense, let the mysterious algorithm rule my life. Let me break down how insane this really is. There are 3 major credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. These are private companies, not government agencies, private companies. And they all have slightly different information about you, which means you actually have 3 different credit scores at any given time. So I check my Experian score, it's 720. I'm feeling pretty good about myself. Then I check Equifax, it's 695. Now I'm nervous. Then I check TransUnion, it's 740. So which one is the real score? All of them, and none of them. Because it depends on which bureau the lender checks. You applying for a mortgage, the lender might pull all 3 scores and use the middle one. You applying for a car loan? They might just check one bureau. Which one? Who knows? It's like playing Russian roulette, except instead of bullets, it's your financial future. And these bureaus make mistakes all the time. Studies show that like 20% of credit reports have errors on them. 20%. That's 1 in 5 people walking around with a credit score that's wrong, because Equifax accidentally put somebody else's unpaid medical bill on your report. You know what you got to do to fix it? You got to prove they made a mistake, not the other way around. You got to write letters, make phone calls, send documentation, wait 30 to 45 days for them to investigate, and maybe they fix it. Or maybe they just send you a letter that says, "We investigated ourselves and found we did nothing wrong. Your score stays the same. Have a nice day." It's guilty until proven innocent, except the crime is having a credit score and the punishment is not being able to rent an apartment. The deeper scam. But wait, there's more. Because the credit score scam goes even deeper than you think. Let's talk about credit utilization. That's the ratio of how much credit you're using versus how much you have available. They say you should keep it under 30%. Some people say under 10% for the best score. So let me get this straight. If I have a credit card with a $10,000 limit, I should only use $3,000 of it. Or $1,000 if I'm trying to be perfect. But here's the thing. Why do I have a $10,000 limit if I'm not supposed to use it? It's like they gave you a swimming pool and then told you you're only allowed to get your feet wet. If you actually swim in it, you get punished. What's the point of the pool then? And here's where it gets really manipulative. They say, "Oh, request a credit limit increase. That'll lower your utilization ratio." So I call my credit card company, I ask for a limit increase. You know what happens? They do a hard inquiry on my credit report, which lowers my score. So to raise my score, I got to do something that lowers my score. Make it make sense. It's like they're telling me, to get healthier, you should eat this sandwich. But eating the sandwich will make you sick. But after you recover from being sick, you'll be healthier than before, probably. Maybe. We don't know. The formula is secret. And let's talk about the amounts owed category for a second. This is 30% of your score. They look at how much total debt you have. But here's the trick. They don't care why you have the debt. They don't care if it's medical debt from your kid's emergency surgery. They don't care if it's student loan debt from getting an education. They don't care if it's credit card debt from being unemployed during a pandemic. All debt is the same to the algorithm. Responsible debt, irresponsible debt, life-saving debt, stupid debt. It's all just numbers. You could have gone into debt because you bought a jet ski on a whim, or you could have gone into debt because you had cancer. The algorithm doesn't care. The algorithm has no humanity. The algorithm has no context. The algorithm just sees numbers and makes judgments. And here's my favorite part, the new credit category. This is 10% of your score. They penalize you for applying for new credit. Why? Because apparently if you're trying to get new credit, that means you're desperate, and desperate people are risky. But you know what else they penalize you for? Having no recent credit activity. Because if you're not borrowing money, how do they know you're still good at paying it back? So you can't apply for too much credit, but you also can't apply for no credit. You got to apply for just the right amount of credit. And how much is that? Who knows? The formula is secret. It's like Goldilocks, except instead of porridge, it's debt. And instead of a happy ending, you just have anxiety and a mediocre credit score. The psychological warfare. You know what the worst part about this whole system is? It's designed to make you feel bad about yourself. It's designed to make you feel like a failure. It's designed to keep you anxious and uncertain and always chasing a number that's always just out of reach. I got friends who check their credit score every single day. Every day. Like it's the weather forecast. The anxiety is the point. Anxious people make emotional decisions. Emotional decisions make banks money. Even though you don't need the money, even though it doesn't make financial sense, because the algorithm told you to. It's psychological warfare dressed up as financial advice. And the financial advice industry is in on it too. You got all these credit repair companies charging you hundreds of dollars to do stuff you could do yourself for free. You got credit monitoring services sending you alerts every time your score changes by 2 points, keeping you in a constant state of panic. You got influencers on social media telling you their secret hacks to raise your credit score. And the secret is always just stay in debt responsibly. Everybody's making money off your anxiety except you. The solution. All right, so what do we do? How do we fight back against this rigged system? Here's the truth, and you're not going to like it, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Step 1, stop trying to get a perfect score. I know. You've been told your whole life that you need an 850 credit score. You need that perfect number. You know what an 850 gets you that a 750 doesn't? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Once you hit about 740, you qualify for the best interest rates. Going from 750 to 850 doesn't save you money. It just makes you feel good. And you know what feeling good costs? Your sanity. Stop obsessing over every 5-point fluctuation. Stop refreshing your credit score app 12 times a day like you're checking your ex's Instagram. The banks want you obsessed. They want you anxious. Anxious people make bad decisions. Anxious people open new credit cards they don't need just to improve their mix. Get to 740, maybe 760 if you're feeling ambitious. Then stop. You won. You did it. The rest is just a high score in a game that doesn't matter. Nobody's going to give you a trophy for having an 850. You know what you get for an 850? The same mortgage rate as the guy with a 760. Congratulations. You wasted years of your life stressing over 60 points that changed nothing. Step 2. Use credit cards like a tool, not a crutch. Credit cards are not free money. I know they feel like free money. You swipe that card, you get the thing. Nobody asks you for money right now. It's magical. Until the bill comes and you realize you just bought a $70 t-shirt that's going to cost you $90 after interest. Here's what you do. Pick 1 or 2 credit cards, not 7, not 10, 1 or 2. Use them for regular purchases, groceries, gas, bills you're already paying. Then pay them off every month, in full. Not the minimum payment, not half the balance, the full balance. Why? Because if you're paying interest, you're not using the credit card. The credit card is using you. You're the product. You're the cow they're milking every month. But Bill, I need to carry a balance to build credit. No, you don't. That's a lie that the credit card companies told you, and somehow everybody believes it. Using your card and paying it off in full builds your credit just fine. You don't need to pay interest to prove you're responsible. That's like saying you need to crash your car a little bit to prove you're a good driver. The credit card companies love this myth because it makes them billions of dollars. They convinced an entire generation of people that paying interest is good for them. It's not. It's good for the banks. You're literally paying money to prove you're good at paying money. Think about how insane that is. Step 3, focus on your net worth, not your credit score. Your net worth is assets minus liabilities, what you own minus what you owe. That's the real number that matters. That's the number that determines if you're actually building wealth or just building a pretty credit score on top of a mountain of debt. You can have an 800 credit score and be broke. Seriously. You could have $20,000 in credit card debt, a $40,000 car loan, $100,000 in student loans, and still have an 800 credit score if you're making your minimum payments on time. You know what your net worth would be? Negative $160,000. But hey, great score. On the flip side, you can have a 650 credit score and be a millionaire. If you got $1 million in assets and $300,000 in debt, you're worth $700,000. But the algorithm doesn't care about that. The algorithm only cares that you're not playing the game right. The score doesn't measure wealth. It measures how good you are at borrowing money. And being good at borrowing money is not the same as being good with money. So instead of asking, how do I raise my credit score? I'd start asking, how do I increase my net worth? Buy assets, pay off debts, build an emergency fund. Invest in yourself, learn skills that increase your income, start a side business, buy stocks, buy real estate if you can, do things that actually build wealth. That's how you win, not by impressing some algorithm that doesn't even know you exist. Step 4, the Cash King philosophy. The ultimate goal is to not need credit at all. I know that sounds crazy in 2026 America. How are you supposed to buy a house without a mortgage? How are you supposed to buy a car without a loan? And you're right. Most people need those things. I'm not saying you should never borrow money. What I'm saying is, the more cash you have, the less power the credit score has over you. If you got $20,000 in the bank, you can buy a decent used car in cash. You don't need a loan. You don't need to grovel to a bank for approval. You don't need to worry if your score is 720 or 740. You just buy the car and drive it home. If you got $50,000 saved up, you can put a massive down payment on a house, which means you borrow less, which means you pay less interest, which means you build equity faster. Cash gives you options. Cash gives you power. Cash gives you the ability to say no to bad deals. Work toward having enough cash that credit becomes optional, not mandatory. Because once it's optional, you have all the power. You can negotiate. You walk into a car dealership with $20,000 in your account, you can negotiate like a boss. They know you don't need their financing. They know you can walk away. That's power. Desperate people get terrible interest rates. Desperate people get ripped off. Desperate people sign bad contracts because they feel like they have no choice. Cash eliminates desperation. Cash is freedom. Credit is chains. Even if they're gold-plated chains with rewards points and cash back, they're still chains. Step 5. Know when to play the game. Look, I'm not naive. I know you probably need to play the game sometimes. You're buying a house, you need a mortgage, you want a good rate, fine. Play the game. Get your score up to 760. Keep your utilization low. Don't close old accounts. Keep a couple credit cards active, pay everything on time, do all the stupid dance moves the algorithm wants. But do it strategically. Do it when you need to. 6 months before you apply for a mortgage, clean up your credit. Get that score as high as you can. Then once you get the mortgage, once you lock in that good rate, stop. Stop optimizing, stop playing, go back to focusing on your actual financial health, not your financial reputation. The system wants you to think your credit score is your financial health. It's not. It's a grade that measures how much profit the banks can extract from you. Don't confuse their grading system with your actual well-being. And one more thing, check your credit reports at least once a year for errors. You can get free reports from all 3 bureaus at annualcreditreport.com. Actually read them, make sure there's no mistakes. Make sure there's no accounts you don't recognize. Make sure there's no late payments that you actually paid on time. If you find errors, dispute them. It's a pain, but it matters. Because remember, these bureaus don't care about you. You're not their customer. The banks are their customers. You're just data. So you got to protect yourself. The real talk. Here's what I want you to understand. The credit score system is not your friend. It's not designed to help you. It's designed to help banks make money off of you while making you think you're building something valuable. You know what's valuable? Having money in the bank, having assets that appreciate, having skills that increase your income, having investments that grow over time, having the freedom to make financial decisions without being controlled by a 3-digit number that some secret algorithm spits out. I'm not saying credit scores don't matter. In the current system, they do matter. You need a decent score to function in modern America. But don't let them control your life. Don't let them define your worth. Don't sacrifice your actual financial health just to chase a higher score. Get to 740. Use credit cards responsibly, pay your bills on time, keep your utilization reasonable. Then move on. Focus on building real wealth. Focus on increasing your income. Focus on buying assets. Focus on building a life where you don't need to borrow money for everything. Because here's the dirty secret they don't want you to know. Rich people don't care about credit scores. You know why? Because they don't need to borrow money. They already have money. They use credit strategically, not desperately. They use it when it makes financial sense, not because they have no other choice. The credit score game is for people who are stuck. People who need to borrow to survive. People who need credit to buy a car, to get to work, to make money to pay off the credit they used to buy the car. It's a hamster wheel. And the only way to get off is to build enough wealth that you don't need it anymore. The final yap. You know what kills me? We've all been trained to say, I'm building credit like it's this virtuous thing, like we're building character or building a future. But what we're really saying is, I'm proving to banks that I'm a reliable source of interest payments. Nobody wakes up and says, you know what my dream is? To have an 850 credit score. Your dream is probably to own a house, to retire early, to not stress about money, to take your kids on vacation without checking your bank account first, to sleep at night without worrying about bills. Those are real goals. A credit score is just a number some corporation uses to decide how much money they can make off you. I paid off my car and my score went down, and you know what? I don't care anymore. You know why? Because I don't owe anyone money for that car anymore. Nobody can repossess it. Nobody can charge me interest. It's mine, fully mine. And that feeling is worth more than 100 points on some arbitrary scale. The credit score system wants you to be a perfect debtor. Not debt-free, just perfect at managing your debt. Always borrowing, always paying, never escaping. They don't want you free. They want you expensive to them. They want you profitable because that's how they make money. So here's my advice, and this is free. Get your score high enough to get good rates when you need to borrow. 740, maybe 760. Then stop caring. Stop checking it every day. Stop optimizing it. Stop letting it control your decisions. Stop losing sleep over a 5-point drop. Stop comparing your score to your friends' scores like it's a competition. Focus on building wealth, not building a score. Focus on assets, not credit limits. Focus on income, not credit cards. Focus on freedom, not approval from some algorithm. Because at the end of the day, when you're 80 years old looking back on your life, you're not going to care what your credit score was in 2026. You're not going to tell your grandkids, I had an 820 credit score once, like it's some great achievement. You're going to care if you had enough money to live the life you wanted. You're going to care if you were free or if you were trapped in debt your whole life. You're going to care if you spent your time building wealth or just building credit. The banks want you to think the score is freedom. It's not. It's the opposite of freedom. It's a leash. And the longer you stay on that leash, the more money they make. They want you to think you're making progress every time your score goes up by 10 points. But you're not making progress. You're just becoming a better customer. So get the score you need, then cut the leash. Build wealth, stack cash, own assets, pay off debts, increase your income, invest in yourself. Become the person who doesn't need credit, who just uses it when it's convenient and makes financial sense, because that's when you win, not when you have a perfect score, when you don't need the score at all. That's it. That's the yap. Now, if you'll excuse me, I gotta go check my credit score one more time just to make sure it didn't go down while I was talking about it. Because at this point, I'm pretty sure just thinking about credit scores makes mine drop. I probably lost 15 points during this video just for having opinions about the system. Welcome to America, where paying off your debts is somehow a bad thing, where being financially responsible gets you punished, where a secret algorithm run by a private corporation controls whether you can rent an apartment, get a job, or turn on your electricity, where we've been convinced that owing money responsibly is somehow better than not owing money at all. I'd laugh if I wasn't too busy crying into my paid-off car that apparently made me a worse person in the eyes of the algorithm.